consider not moving to Florida. It's for your protection.
Now, you might have heard that Florida is a beautiful place to live, filled with freedom, conservative values, and safety for your family. But unfortunately, that's just misinformation propagated by the far right.
Yeah, it's a wasteland here, okay? And all these conservatives are just trying to trick you into moving here so that you can spread your liberal values around like herpes.
You mean like good herpes?
Yeah, exactly.
As you're looking to flee the terrible conditions in your state that you helped create based on how you've been voting, it would be a joy to have you here in Florida and have you vote the same way, because we know you intelligently would. But as you can see, Florida's really just a disaster, and you won't like it here. As you can see, things are much worse here than in the Venezuela Junior state that you come from.
Here in Florida, we don't have any state income tax, which means you'll have more money, which means you'll be less motivated to work hard.
That sounds terrible. What's the point of life if you're comfortable and happy?
As a former New York City dweller and now proud Florida man living in the great state of Florida, I couldn't agree with that message more. The state's full. Please don't come here, and I would respectfully love to join the Anti-Tourism Board of Florida. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of crazy information to get into, not just with our foreign policy, not just geopolitically, not just breaking down the domestic disinformation and propaganda that we have to deal with almost every single day, but we're also going to be talking about intergalactic updates, what's happening with the aliens, what's happening in Ukraine, why are there some nasty reptilian looking like creatures trying to prevent you from being able to talk freely? Will Elon Musk save us or send us to Mars? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all on this independent media broadcast. But before jumping into all these very interesting topics, the video that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was done by the very talented Awakened with JP, who did an incredible job with his latest video collaboration that is entitled Why You Should Not Move to Florida. He did this video with another fellow comedian, Brent Pella, and they hit it out of the park once again. And if you want to watch the full video, I will be linking both of their channels down in the description below so you could find out more about these incredible comedians that are absolutely spreading a very important message. Please, let's not ruin Florida. If Florida falls, the United States will fall. This is why I'm here. We're on the front lines. And personally, I am very happy that I am not in New York, where there, of course, was some very tragic events unfolding in Buffalo over the weekend. Horrible events that have been made worse by the atrocious media coverage by the corporate media and the response from the politicians there that see this as an opportunity to use the loss of life for their own political benefit and power grabs. This, as the governor there is calling for two specific things: more rules, more bureaucracy, more government when it comes to your ability to express ideas and your ability to be able to defend yourself. These two major issues are at stake as the governor wants to take them away, all in the name of the government keeping you safe, even though when you specifically look at those issues, they only make that current situation in Buffalo more possible for many specific reasons. Number one, if you limit speech like the governor of New York wants to do, you create echo chambers. Bad ideas cannot be challenged with good ideas, and people who share bad ideas are going to be pushed further into the depths of unhinged, not mainstream websites where their ideas will become more radicalized and they will be doubling down on them rather than countered with good ideas. Second, New York already has a lot of laws that prevent people from being able to defend themselves, as mentioned by this horrible human being in Buffalo that in his manifesto wrote that he specifically targeted Buffalo since people weren't able to defend themselves and stop him from hurting other people, as literally local law enforcement hung up the phone on the victims of this incident in Buffalo because they were speaking quietly and whispering while they were hiding in the fridges. This is the same law enforcement. This is the same government that tells you you can't defend yourself. trust us, we will defend you, even though they absolutely failed to do so on that horrific date in Buffalo, where a crazy person was literally writing out his plans on what he wanted to do with a history of mental illness, with a history of hurting and torturing small animals. This man had all the trademarks of an extremely troubled individual who was going to hurt people, and yet the FBI and the multi-billion-dollar intelligence surveillance agency missed this somehow? Yeah. I got some questions about that. Questions that, of course, the New York governor and other statist bureaucrats don't want you asking or even entertaining, as, of course, that's the exact speech that they want to censor online. And it looks like there's a major victory against this today, as we're getting the announcement that the Biden Homeland Security Disinformation Board is now paused after an overwhelming criticism of this larger move, which has been deemed the Ministry of Truth, since, of course, a very highly partisan fake news spreader that spread lies, disinformation for political gain before was supposed to head this organization. And now, according to the Washington Post, the DHS is pausing this bureaucratic Becky Ministry of Truth after the intense scrutiny the agency has faced, and rightfully so. Now, federally, this is a great development for the prospects of free speech. What will New York do when it comes to limiting free speech? Well, that state knows no bounds when it comes to atrocities that it's willing to commit against its own people, not just at nursing homes. As of course, just hours ago, New York City has announced that their sickness level has just gone to a high despite very low hospitalizations and deaths from the sickness that goes around. Why is New York City declaring a high sickness alert when there's nothing backing that up, according to the New York Post? Well, who knows? The city does a lot of absolutely dumb, incredulous things, and this is what happens when you entrust the government to take care and do everything for you, as it's also recently unveiled that New York City and the MTA, its Metropolitan Transportation Agency, just spent $30 million on a small staircase. Yes, New York City spent $30 million of tax-paying, hard-earned money that was siphoned away from the people living there and literally built this staircase. Yeah. I'm sorry, but the people there are being scammed, and whether it's the mafia or just corruption or just bureaucrats, when you have the government spending $30 million on one staircase, you have to start asking yourself, what in the world is going on here? What kind of nasty, disgusting, deceitful corruption is being used to siphon away the wealth from the general public, and what bureaucratic beast is it feeding? Now, in related bad financial news, today we're also finding out that the Twitter board says that it will be enforcing their merger agreement with Elon Musk, even though there has been a recent controversy surrounding the amount of fake users on the platform that has paused the deal. Twitter is announcing today that they're going to make sure that the deal goes through no matter what, as of course Elon Musk is expecting a lower price, since, the company was saying that there's less than 5% of fake users on the platform, as Newsweek today is reporting that Joe Biden's Twitter account has literally half of fake accounts following it. Yes, the Twitter account of Joe Biden has half of its followers, half of the current 22.2 million followers as fake accounts, which is an absolutely big deal. Elon Musk is currently paying for $133 per user per his agreement for Twitter, and how many of those users are real? How many of those users are fake bots created by agencies to manipulate people's realities and perceptions? Well, that's a very important question, as of course there most likely will be a legal battle here, as of course the party that breaks the contract here will be liable to pay $1 billion. What will happen with the future of Twitter? Well, this is a story that, of course, we're going to be following closely. It's an important story, as, of course, it potentially signals the possibility of free speech returning to a big social media tech platform that would allow honest, real, decent conversations where bad ideas could actually be challenged in a real way with good ideas, which is scientifically proven to de-radicalize people, scientifically proven to defeat the hyper-politicization of our society and actually propel society forward, which is not what big tech social media companies are doing now. And I would argue, along with other data scientists, that the onset of big tech social media has had a net negative, especially since the curation of content, the censorship of speech, and the promotion of corporate, multinational, banking, and media voices have been the ones prominently regurgitated and shoved down our throats. Psychologically, mentally, socially, there have been a lot of negative aspects to curated speech by the powerful, unaccountable governments and multinational corporations, which have used it for their own personal benefit, as perfectly represented by yet another Project Veritas undercover video that has a Twitter executive literally trashing free speech, mocking people with disabilities, and bragging about how he limited people's ability to express political ideas, highlighting specifically how Project Veritas has done more for the prospects of free speech within the last 24 hours than the GOP has done in the last few years. And a lot of this repugnant behavior has pushed people to the opposite political spectrum to where they were before, as even Elon Musk has publicly declared that he's going to be voting Republican for the first time in his life after declaring that he predominantly was voting for Democrats in the past. Now the political spectrum has definitely changed significantly, and Elon Musk has dropped a major bombshell that of course is going to trigger a lot of people, probably his potential future Twitter employees, as he also recently came out and said that China's economic growth could soon leave the United States in the dust. And with some Twitter employees bragging about how they only work 4 hours a week and how the company doesn't even care, I could definitely see that as a main argument here that is definitely validated with our current woke culture that prioritizes made-up fairy tales and emotions over, of course, true entrepreneurship, personal responsibility, and creating a life of accomplishments. I would say that our current system, our current education, indoctrination, propaganda system does the exact opposite of that. And this is why we have started LukeUncensored.com, where we provide you 3 master classes, 3 online universities that teach you things like apocalypse survival training, travel and escape hacking tips, tricks, Change Media University, getting your voice heard online, whatever it may be, whatever you may be interested in, we have an online class for you that you get for free just by signing up to LukeUncensored.com, where we discuss and have more of an honest, frank discussion that cannot be censored about serious topics and issues that are specifically centered at helping you as much as we can with the right information to make the right decisions in this very turbulent, crazy world. And whether it's financial information, health information, mental health information, whatever it may be, we got it for you on LukeUncensored.com. Sign up right now. Click the link down in the description below to find out how you could be involved in our quasi-secret society that's available for you for just 50 cents a day and allows you to have all these things available to you while supporting real and true independent media. I hope to see you guys later on there today for the video that we will be releasing right after this video, highlighting some crazy news out of Sri Lanka and a lot more. Now, very interestingly, a lot of the people who are screaming the most about fake news, the government and the multinational corporations that of course want to destroy their independent media competition, are usually the ones spreading the most amount of fake news, as of course Reuters literally is releasing pictures from airsoft battles trying to depict as if they're coming from Ukraine that they're not. U.S. Army generals with, of course, contracts with the corporate media are literally promoting video game footage as real life coming from Ukraine when they're not. They're from video games. They're fake. These just being the 2 latest incidences of many incidences that we have been covering here on independent media of just the outright disinformation and propaganda that has been regurgitated to you as truth, as these are the same people saying that we need to stop disinformation and propaganda. And of course, with government agencies, bureaucrats, and the corporate media lying like this, how do we know if they're ever telling the truth? Well, they're usually not. especially when it comes to the topic of UFOs, unidentified flying objects, and aliens, as of course we have Congressman Tim Burkett just come out and say that the recent hearings on UFOs in the U.S. Congress were absolute jokes, as the government is hiding information from the general public about what information they have surrounding specifically the larger topic of unidentified flying objects, which, again, could be a psyop, could be the hiding of larger truths, as the government is acting more tight-lipped as they ever have been before, especially during these meetings, which Politico has even described as a, quote, skull and bones type vibe, as they detail how spy agencies are not telling the American public about what they really know, about what's really happening out there in the cosmos and intergalactic space. I want to know. I'm curious. And with the government even telling U.S. military members to keep their mouth shut, telling people to not tell what they've experienced, what they've seen, how can we trust a government that doesn't even want to tell the American people the truth? Well, you can't. And this is why we've been skeptical of everything, including the latest news coming from Ukraine. Even though I'm Polish, even though I don't want war, still, we have to ask ourselves, what is the U.S. government telling us that's honest, that's real? What can we verify ourselves? And that is a question that, of course, we've been struggling with and doing our best to try to be as honest as possible when it comes to the conflict in Ukraine. As, of course, there have been some few calls for the de-escalation of this conflict, which I think are worth noting, specifically coming from the president of France. Political leadership in Germany and Italy are publicly coming out and saying that they are favoring negotiations and peace deals between Ukraine and Russia. This as Finland and Sweden might soon join NATO, which, according to a lot of international reports, Turkey is trying to block. And very interestingly, the president of Russia is saying that them joining NATO does not, quote, pose a threat to Russia, as we have been seeing some very hyperbolic, dangerous language from other Russian state media and politicians there that have been using very aggressive, hyperbolic language when it comes to this larger NATO acquisition. Will it happen? Well, of course, we're going to be following that story closely, as here in the United States, we have some repugnant politicians that are slandering and attacking individuals for just asking some questions about this entire mess of a situation that they helped get us in. Again, what's happening there is an utter cluster F. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. We've been warning about this since 2014 that this could potentially happen. It is happening, and it's an utter freaking disaster for everyone involved, including the innocent civilians that are paying the ultimate price here for the political ambitions of politicians and warmongers who, of course, are just sending and throwing more men and weapons into the field, calling for more bloodlust. You know what? We're not going to do that. We're not going to call for blood here. We're going to call for peace. We're going to call for de-escalations. We're going to call for negotiations, and I think that's the more strategic, smart approach here. And if you agree with that, share this video with your friends and family members. What do you think will happen with Twitter? Will Elon Musk be forced to buy it? Will he give out the $1 billion in the termination clause? Well, let me know down in the comment section below. And if you thought I said anything that was incorrect or wrong or factually invalid, let me know down in the comment section below as well. I always appreciate the constructive criticism. I always appreciate your ability to be able to express these larger ideas, to do the homework, to do the research, and be able to have these kinds of very in-depth conversations. It's only going to get a lot deeper on LukeUncensored.com. Right, Atlas? Absolutely. For me and Atlas, we love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on WeAreChange.org.